Hi there and welcome to this video in the IBM Cloud Foundation Skills Series. And in this video we're going to take a closer look at VMware Solutions Dedicated in the IBM Cloud. This is going to be a quick look at what VMware Solutions Dedicated means, what the options are, and then we're going to take a quick look in the IBM Cloud Console, and we'll look at how you provision the services and what the options there are. Now, I'm not going to do a full lab on the solution, but I was asked by a customer last year to demonstrate and provide details on how to get on and start using VMware vCenter in IBM Cloud. So as part of that, I wrote a document with some instructions, which is up on my GitHub page. And I also recorded a video, which is about 35 to 40 minutes long, which I also uploaded to YouTube. And you can see the URL for that on the screen now. And I'll also add this video to the series as well, to this particular series. So if you're interested in diving a bit deeper and seeing what vCenter looks like and how to get started using it, then take a look at that video. Okay, so what actually is VMware Solutions Dedicated? So in a nutshell, it provides a single tenant client-managed VMware environment on IBM Cloud, which is delivered as a software-defined data center. So basically, it allows you to run either a VMware vCenter or vSphere installation in the cloud on physical hardware that's actually dedicated to your account. So I mentioned client-managed there. So effectively, IBM Cloud provides support for the underlying hardware, and will obviously provide support for issues via support tickets and provides the build-out of the environment. But essentially, the ongoing configuration of the environment, as well as the day-to-day management of the environment, is actually down to the customer. So it'll be down to you as a user. Now, again, IBM supports some pretty major users of VMware services. So it's not unusual for IBM to provide that configuration and day-to-day management. But this is actually done under paid services contracts. And that's obviously in addition to the cloud service that we actually provide. But essentially, if you need someone to manage the running of the solution, then IBM can provide that service as well. Okay, so I mentioned that the service provides either vCenter or vSphere. So vCenter Server is it's actually a fully automated, standardized VMware software-defined data center, while the vSphere offering is it provides more customization of vSphere Server and VMware licensing. So both solutions provide the option to purchase IBM provided licenses, or they also offer you the option to actually bring your own license as well. So on screen you can see a table that provides some of the options, and you can see there that vCenter has much more automatically built into the solution and that's automatically configured for you, while vSphere allows you to optionally install components and then manually configure them. So depending on your needs, the solution as a whole is actually pretty flexible. Okay, so I said at the top that we'd look at the VMware options on the IBM Cloud Console. So let's go and do that now. Okay, so here I am in my IBM Cloud account at cloud.ibm.com. This is obviously my dashboard. So what I actually want to do is go and start to look at some of my VMware services. So from the menu on the left-hand side over here, you can either expand this hamburger here, and then you can see all the different services, and then within there there's VMware, or of course you've now got this VMware icon as well. So I can go and click that, and it will then take me to the VMware landing page. So we'll just let that load, and here we go. So very quickly, a quick guided tour of here. So this is the landing page for IBM Cloud VMware Solutions. You can see here's the two main panes for where you want to go and start provisioning things. So there's a solution shared and the solution dedicated tabs. We'll come back to those in a second. Further down the page, we've then got these featured services. So if you want to go and read a little bit more about those, then you can do. So for instance, there's some reading here about Red Hat OpenShift for VMware, Kavonix, which I mentioned earlier in another video, and also Zerto. Horizon 7, so this is about integrating hybrid cloud for virtual desktops, etc., etc. So if you're interested in those things, go and have a look at these featured services and do some more reading. There's some information about a trial here. So again, I don't know how long this trial offer might be available. So, but if you're interested and you can still see it there, then go and click some of these tiles as well. There's also some links to some great other learning resources here as well. So there's a good video here from a colleague, which is a bit more of a deeper dive into some of the VMware solutions. Obviously, there's the documentation here as well. So if you're starting to use the VMware technology, then I do recommend that you go and read some of the documentations, and it's a good place to go if you get stuck or you just need a little bit of help. Further down the screen, you can see that there's some other services which are linked to VMware. So there's things here on security and compliance. So you can see things like the Kavonic stuff there, and also these high trust things are also excellent if you need some really good high security and compliance add-ons for your particular installation. You then got some continuity migration tools here as well. So I've mentioned HCX, we've mentioned Veeam, we've mentioned Zerto in previous videos as well. And then there's some other tiles here, professional services. So again, if you're a very large customer potentially, and you need IBM to help you migrate or to help actually look after and run the service for you, then go and have a look at that tile. Okay, so over on this left hand side then, let's just quickly look at these buttons as well. So in terms of resources, you can see what resources you've actually got provisioned at any time. I don't really have anything other than my solution shared instance, which we'll go and have a look at in a later video. Notifications, so you can see you get some notifications to see what's happening with the service. Again, you can set filters for these as well if you need to from these drop down lists, but it's worth going to have a look at these every now and again to see what's actually going on. And then there's a settings tab here as well, so if you want to go and create some settings, then you can do that as well. So one thing that you do need is some to set your infrastructure credentials. So the way that you do that, if you've not used VMware before, note that you do need a pay-as-you-go or a subscription account to be able to do this. So and what you need to do is actually link your or make sure that you can use infrastructure services as well as some of the software services as well. And the way you do that is you need to just access your infrastructure credentials. So you come to this screen, you click the retrieve button, it'll give you it'll retrieve your username for you, and then also retrieve an API key for you as well. So it's just to get you started. Okay, so let's go back to this screen here. So let's go to the solutions dedicated, and what this does is it's actually the screen where you start provisioning things. So quickly look at the About tab. This gives again a little bit more information about the services and what they are. There's also links on here into documentation. There's an architecture center as well. So if you're interested in more architecture stuff, then there's some really good stuff on there as well, which I'll recommend that you go and have a look at. So same again for some of the VMware vSphere stuff. And there's a good link here as well, which gives you a bit more information about the VMware mission critical workloads. This is where the stretch cluster. So if you're interested in that, let's go and have a look there. So let's go back to the Create tab. So let's start off with vCenter Server. So again, creating something in this is pretty much simple as creating services elsewhere in IBM Cloud. So the first thing you do is obviously decide which solution you want to use. So we'll stick with vCenter for now. So with vCenter, you create clusters. So you can either have a single zone cluster or a multi-zone cluster. So with the single zone cluster, which we'll focus on for the minute, this is basically a cluster of servers which you create in a single data center or single zone. So you'll be familiar with zones when we were talking about virtual private cloud, if you watch those particular videos. So to actually go and provision one of these things, you just effectively complete the drop-down list. So this is going to be a new configuration. We just need to give the instance a name. So I'm going to call this my rules VMware system. And then I need to put it in a resource group. So I'm going to stick with rules dev. But again, all of this is IAM managed. So that's why you need to actually add a resource group. You then need to give it an initial cluster name. So I'm going to give this rules dev cluster. So again, you can add clusters to this as you go along. So you create an initial cluster, then you can add further clusters as you want to build out the environment. So it's quite flexible in that way. So you then choose a version. So at the moment we're offering 6.3 update 5 or 6.7 update 2. And obviously, as you watch this video, those versions may change over time. And then you can choose whether or not you want NSXV or NSXT for your networking solution. And then you choose your instance type. So what we mean by this is that you can actually create instances which connect to each other. So you always start with a primary instance. So this is a single instance into the environment, and then you can actually connect other instances to it to create high availability. So those would be secondary instances. So always start off with a primary instance, but if you want to connect an instance to another instance, then you can then start to create secondary instances. So in terms of licensing, I've mentioned that you can either bring your own licensing or you can have licensing included in the IBM Cloud costing. So if you want to provide your own license, then just click the radio and then enter in your license key. So you need to have already purchased your license and have your license key available before you can actually create anything here. So if you don't have a license, then just click include with purchase. And again, you may have different licenses for different parts of the service. So again, you can pick and choose the ones that you want to include. So just click where you've got a license, or click where you actually want to have licensing from IBM Cloud. So the next thing you do is actually configure your bare metal servers that will actually sit underneath this service. So first of all, you need to decide where you actually want to deploy the service. So you can choose from all the different regions around the world. So I'm in Europe, so again, I'm going to just choose Europe. I'm going to choose a data center in London. So I'm going to choose London 5 for this one. And then I just choose which CPU generation that I actually want. So I can choose from Skylake, I can choose from Cascade Lake. So these are Intel versions of chips or Intel generations of chips. I can also choose from SAP certified servers, and also from Broadwell generation servers as well. So I'm going to choose Cascade Lake, that being the latest generation, and then I can choose the CPU model that I actually want as well. And again, these will change depending on the different CPU generations as well. So I'm going to choose Cascade Lake. Let's choose this particular one here, the smaller one. And then I can choose the RAM that I need. So again, when you're designing this, you need to think about, well, what does my VMware installation look like? How many virtual machines am I going to be running? How many virtual cores do I actually need? I tend to sort of go for a ratio of up to 6 virtual cores to 1 physical core. So that's kind of my limit. I've read online that that's kind of a sort of a good ratio to go for, but again, choose what's best for your workload. But I go for about 1 to 6. Then you choose your RAM. So you can choose from 64 gig up to 1.5 terabytes based on this configuration. So again, with RAM, it tends to be more 1-to-1. You can't share RAM so much with virtual machines, because if all the machines are suddenly fighting for RAM at once, then you can get quite a bit of contention there. So my recommendation there is a 1-to-1 relationship. So you then choose how many bare metal servers, so how many servers do you actually want in your cluster. Now you can go as low as 1, or actually as low as 2 clusters. I'm not entirely sure what allows you to go to 1 there, but you can go as down to 2 clusters, 2 servers in your cluster. For production workloads, we actually recommend 3, because obviously that gives you the more high availability in 3. So if you think about it, if you design this so that at least 2 of the servers in your cluster can handle all of the workload, then if one of the servers of the 3 goes down, then you still haven't lost all of your VMware instances. You can then go to storage. So you can choose between vSAN storage, or you can go for NFS storage. So if you look at NFS first, then again you can choose how many individual shares you want. So you can go from 1 up to 100 with the number of shares, and you can configure those individually if you want to, or you can make each one the same. So again, you can have a figure here, basically between I guess one gigabyte, and see if it'll allow me to put in 1 gigabyte. So basically you need to be within a region of around about 500 gigabyte, and let's just see how small we can get with that. Well, there you go down to 20 gigabytes, which is yeah, I think 20 gigabytes looks as though it's the floor, and you can go all the way up to 12 terabytes, and then you can choose the performance. So with the NFS storage, you can choose between 0.25 IOPS and 10 IOPS. And again, later on, if you want to, you can move between the IOPS tiers, I think with the exception of the 0.25 IOPS. If you choose that, then you can't actually move. But if you choose, say, 2 IOPS, then you can move up to 4 to 10, and vice versa. If you look at the vSAN storage, then again, this is you can make this high performance with Intel Optane. You can then choose the types of drives that you want. So you can go from a 960 gigabyte to 3.8 terabyte SSDs. You can then choose the number of disks that you then want for that capacity. So let's go for 1.9. You can then choose 10 terabytes. You can then choose some cache in some of the options as well. And then basically it will give you a vSAN summary, so you can see how much usable storage you then have in there. So I'm just going to stick with the vSAN storage. Choose my performance there. You can then choose some edge services clusters. So if you want to have some services which have firewall components or Jupiters, you can then choose to include those, and then actually go and configure those as well. So I'm just going to leave that as is for the moment. And then you can go and actually configure your network interface. So we need to look at that as a subdomain level. So again, that doesn't quite meet my the naming convention there. So so the maximum length is 10 characters. So that'll be Y. So if I just shorten that out to rules VM, let's say, then it's happy with that. And I can then put in a domain name. So I'm just going to stick with the default there, myroot.local. Take out that space there. So again, I can then decide whether to enable public or private. So I'll stick with public and private. But if I want this to be private only, then I can just have private network connections if I want to, and then I can either order new VLANs or select existing VLANs. So whether or not you've got existing VLANs in that particular data center, you can then see from these drop downs. It doesn't look like I've got any in this particular data center, so I may as well just order new VLANs anyway. I can choose a DNS configuration. So I can choose a single Windows VSI for my Active Directory and DNS servers, or if I'm again in a production environment, then I can choose to provision 2 highly available dedicated Windows Server virtual machines to do that. So then this gives me a little bit of a network overview as to what my system will look like, and then there's some optional services that I can choose here as well. So again, if I want to, I can choose Veeam for my backup and recovery. To actually protect against data loss. I can also choose Zerto, obviously as HSX as well if I want to do some migration work, and of course some of the security and compliance options down here as well. But anyway, once I get to the point where I'm happy with my configuration, I can then press the calculate cost, and then it will actually show you where you've got some errors. So again, I've got an error here because my name is too long. So let's call this rules. Let's just call this rules VM for now. And then I think it's a little bit happier. So I'm just going to just double check here as well. So here I just need to also decide what my licensing should be. So either base, advanced, or enterprise. Let's choose advanced for now. And what it will then do is go away and actually calculate the cost for me. and that will just take a couple of moments. So there we go. So it's calculated a cost for me. I can then check these boxes as always, read the terms and conditions, and then click create. So I'm not going to go and do that for now, but once I'm happy, click create, and then typically within a few hours, sometimes it takes up to 12 hours, maybe even 24 hours to create all of this for you, but that is far quicker than actually building and installing this stuff yourself on premises. So if we then quickly go and look at the multi-zone stretch cluster. So with this, we're actually building a cluster that spans various data centers. So again, it's very similar. So again, I give it an instance name. So let's call it rules VM again. And really, the difference here is that I'm choosing a location, so a region. So in this case, I'll choose London as my region. I then choose a witness location. So the way that this works is that my cluster is actually over 3 different zones. So one of those zones is a witness. So the witness is basically sitting there just making sure that the other 2 clusters in the other 2 zones are actually alive and well. So that's what that witness does. So I choose the location for my witness cluster, which then pretty much means that my other 2 clusters are actually going to be built in London 5 and London 4 if I choose London 4. They'll be in London 4, 5 and 6 rather. So again, choose my licensing. Again, I choose to include my purchase in this case. I choose a hardware definition for my witness cluster, and also some RAM. So again, within the documentation, there's help as to how to actually size your witness cluster. Again, the number of bare metal servers that you want in your witness cluster. So you need at least 2. To actually maintain a highly available cluster, and again you can go all the way up to 30 if you want to, and then choose your storage type. You can then choose your management cluster. So again, just choose the hardware that you want the management cluster to run on. So again, you choose your RAM and your storage, and then for the actual vSAN stretch cluster itself, you then choose a CPU model. So again, let's just go for the default there. Choose your RAM, and again, this is all based on how many virtual machines you want to use and what spec those are going to be. So again, the rest of this screen then is very similar. So just bear in mind, if you're using the stretch cluster, then you need to have a management cluster. You need to have your witness cluster as well as the vSAN stretch cluster as well. But effectively, what you're ending up with is a very highly available VMware instance in the cloud. So the other option here is VMware vSphere. So we'll just quickly go through this one as well. So with this, you're effectively creating a new cluster, and again, this gives you far more customization and optionality here. So again, I'll give it a name. So let's just call this vSphere cluster. And then again, I choose my licensing, or rather I choose my version, and then I can choose whether or not I actually want to include the license with the purchase, or whether I'll provide the licensing. So it will actually request the licensing from you. So I'll click include licenses with the purchase. Then I can just choose which services I want to include. So again, if I click on vCenter server, I can decide whether I want to provide the license. With vSAN, again, I can decide whether I want to provide the licenses. Again, if I choose to include the license with a purchase, it'll ask me whether I want advanced or enterprise edition as well. So again, that will affect the costing. Again, I then just choose the bare metal servers that I want to use. So again, let's go for Europe and let's say London 6, and then I choose the type of CPU generation I want. So again, Cascade Lake, Skylake, and Broadwell are available here. If I want an SAP certified server, then I guess I probably just need to go to a different data center until that option is actually enabled. So again, select a RAM size. We go from 128 gig to 3 terabyte on these ones, and then choose an average number of virtual machines supported. So again, this just helps you a little bit with some of your with some of your calculations here as well, which is kind of nice. So again, you choose your storage. So choose the type of storage that you want and the number of disks, and then it will give you some again some indication of what the raw storage and the usable storage is there as well. And then you just choose your network interface as well. So again, when you've entered all of these information, so my subdom, and let's just do my root.local again. .local in there. Again, you can then calculate the cost, but I don't have some valid values set up here. So again, I'm just going to select advanced there for the licensing, and hopefully that then will go away. Now I can calculate the cost. Nope, I'm still missing something. Here we go. I'm just missing the license type for that as well, and a version number. So there we go. So then it will go off and calculate the cost for me, and all I then again need to do is just check these buttons. The cost will come up there. There we go. And then again I can just click create. So again, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not going to actually create the cluster. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a bit of an overview of what you need to do to actually provision some of these services actually through the console. Right, so we're near the end of the video, so let's just do a quick recap. So VMware Solutions Dedicated provides a single tenant dedicated VMware solution in the IBM Cloud that can either be based on vCenter Server or vSphere. vCenter Server is a full stack automatically configured offering, whereas vSphere allows you to choose the options you need and to self-configure them, so it has more customization available. vCenter can be configured as either a single zone cluster, or if you need an environment that offers really high availability, then you can go for a multi-zone stretch cluster. Both options allow you to bring your own licenses, or you can use licenses that are provided by IBM Cloud as part of the service, and you pay for those on a monthly basis. And of course, you need to have a pay-go or pay-as-you-go or a subscription account to use VMware services. There's no light service options that you can use free of charge. Okay, well that's it for this video. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, if you want to see more of vCenter, then either look up the link that I showed earlier in this video, or I'll also add the video that's at the end of the link to this series as a kind of an optional watch as well. So that's it for now. Next time we'll look at the vCenter shared offerings, but once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.